Hey everybody, it's Maiden. How are you? Hope everybody's doing good. Okay, I'm making this video for the FBI and the issues regarding the FBI in America. And I am looking at this literally like this is my family. Okay, the FBI is my family, literally my family. Okay, I was raised in foster homes in America. And I became a ward of the court when I was very little. And my parents and I got separated. And I had to go to court and tell the court as a child, a very, very young child, who I wanted to live with. And then we were in foster homes for quite a while. So I said all that to say that when I went into these foster homes, God was picking the house and God was picking the foster parents and everything was orchestrated. It was like I was just showing up as a child. Okay, and one of the times that my foster home changed, I was with a probation officer given to me in LA by the LA system, and she was taking me to my next foster parent at work, and then they were going to take me to my new home. Okay, now this is in LA, and I was about 13 or 14 years old. I think I was 13 years old. So I was born in 61, so it would be 70, 71, 72, 73, 74, right about 1974. So I'm just graduating junior high, I'm pretty sure. And I've had a pretty rocky road up until this time. And so one afternoon, I get in the car with my probation officer. I honestly have never been in trouble with the law, but when I was a ward of the court, so as a minor, and so they had to take me everywhere, and they had to kind of be with me all the time, and nobody really had any answers. Everybody was very sweet, very kind. But anyway, they took me to this FBI building in LA. And we went in and we went through the lobby, okay, and then she showed her badge, and then she took me into this big conference room, or it was like a conference room, but I guess it wasn't the right place. So she went back and they told her that everybody was at lunch at a restaurant. So then we got back in the car and we went to the restaurant, and it was somebody's birthday, I think. And it was this big conference table of FBI agents. Welcome to America. So everybody was really nice, and this gal, you know, I'm standing there and everybody's looking at us. And then this cowboy kind of looking guy gets up and comes over, and he's got blonde hair. He's really tall. He was really cute. I thought he was cute, and he was really like a really cool kind of looking guy. And he's like, "So who is this?" And she goes, "This is your new foster daughter." He goes, "Okay, good." He doesn't ask me my name. I think the gal told him my name, but my name was so different, we just go past it, you know. So anyway, he's all, "Well, come on," you know, and it's really nice, and walked me over and sat me next to him at this big table, this birthday party. And there's a lot of food, and there was cake, and everybody seemed like they were good. And just kind of just sitting there, and then all of a sudden someone goes, "So who is this girl sitting by you?" And Dave, my foster dad, David L. Tom, Thom, he goes, "I don't know. What's your name?" And I'm like, "My name is Misha." And he goes, "Oh, her name's Misha." And then they started all asking me questions, and nobody really had any answers. I didn't have any answers, but I just knew that was my new home. So, excuse me. So I got to be a part of this family. And it was a brand new life. It was totally a brand new life, okay? And what I learned before I became a missionary, because my foster dad and my foster mom became missionaries after they stopped working for the FBI. And they invited me to stay with them and their family. And they could have just let go of me. They could have just said, we don't really want you to come with us or whatever. But instead, they really embraced me, and they invited me to be in their lives with them and to be a part of their family. Okay? So as I grew up, I was able to understand better the level of integrity and the level of devotion, literally having to give your life like your life is no longer your own. Answer the phone 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. Be completely sold out to your country, really, because the label is FBI, but it's really about our country. Every single division of the United States government, it's really about our country. It's got a label, but it's about that team working for our country. And there's been a tremendous amount of corruption because it has been very profitable. But now it's having to transition from this place that it was in corruption to a new place of devotion, a lot like how these armed servicers, these are, our security forces in domestic have to really, when you sign up, you really got to kind of give your surrender of your life to this work. When you're fighting fires, you're surrendering to this dynamic of this intense power that you're having to tame and to bring under some kind of control here. And so in the FBI, what I got to see in encapsulating all of it into one really impacting atmosphere is the fact that the way they are as a group is very loyal to each other and loyal to America, to a fault, meaning that if they have to take the authority and make the judgment call, they're going to do it for the best and highest, keyword, highest interest, okay? And there's so much that they can't say. There's so much they can't talk about. There's so much that is put on them, like Christopher Ray, our director right now, he articulated that very well, that they are given a stewardship of authority that is so intensely gigantic, so big, okay? And a lot of that authority is handed to them already in motion, which means there can be criminal, systemic fraud going on, and they're just thrown that ball. They join the FBI, and here they have to deal with every single issue handed them. Okay, now, you ask yourself, Is it even possible not to be not biased? No, it's not possible. You can't be honest and say that you can approach every single situation unbiased. Okay, what are the systemic bias? What is the systemic bias? Is that we love America, and America is one and only one of its kind, of its nature, of everything about it that is organically, quintessentially so different than anywhere else on the earth. So we're standing here holding this intense, valuable asset, America, right? We're holding back all of these influences that are trying to change America into something America just isn't. America is not an ancient European country. America is very contemporary and brand new. And America doesn't like being entrapped in slavery at all, period. And America is not ever going to accept being poor, okay? And so you will see America take a momentum that many other countries bog down and don't go there. They just don't go there. Where America is embracing NASA right now, NASA, our space system, our space flights, sector of America's identity. Why? Because from the ground up, all the way, okay, in those places there, you will find a space of peace that is getting harder and harder to find on the earth. God is wanting peace on the earth. And space, as you can tell when you go into the night sky, and you just float up into the night sky and you just listen, it gets quieter and quieter. It's very quiet. It's very peaceful. It's very enjoyable just to float through the sky, just to float in the sky like the hot air balloons here in New Mexico. We have that festival every year, and it is amazing, this peacefulness that God has for our lives. So for the FBI, going back to the FBI and my involvement and my family with the FBI, I just want to say something. It doesn't, you don't, it's just like not being able to take the stripes off a zebra. You don't take the spirit of devotion out of someone who's been in the FBI, even though maybe they might not be working there anymore. You grow into a devotion for your country, good, bad, or indifferent. You don't just bail out on your country because your country is having is being bombarded by identity theft, big time right now. So right now, America needs her, and she needs her countrymen and women and children to rally together, to have a devotion, much like our FBI, okay? Much like our secret armed forces, our military forces, our law enforcement. These guys, you look at them and they're wearing a uniform and you're going, okay, that means that whatever. But in reality, what does it mean? It means that this is a person who, when they put on that uniform, they're literally taking their life in their hands every single day to bring civil peace, civil rest, civil honor and care about what we're building here as a country, as a nation. Okay? They're the ones that end up getting stuck with these battles of bad design and infrastructure, of bad law, and a lot of stuff that is going corrupt. Okay? They're the ones that are having to stand in the gap, not just for you and I, but they're having to stand in the gap and then give an account to God. Why did they stand in that gap? When they knew that whatever boss they had was not leading them into pathways of righteousness. That whatever boss they had were not leading our most powerful military onto pathways of righteousness, that they can say to God, yes, I died on that battlefield, God, fighting for righteousness. And that was right. And that was good in my character. But when you have a boss that is having you every day put on that uniform for corruption and you go there every day, and you stand before God, God is going to look at you in the eyes and say, why was it that you understood this boss was an evil person, leading you into evil pathways to defend evil things, when you knew that was not in that best interest, your best interest, or the best interest even of your own boss? Okay? God is wanting us to understand He's always there, even though you can't see Him. He's always there, and He is looking for that devotion. Just like when you love God, people go, okay, so you're a Christian. No, not actually. I mean, there's so much more to loving God and serving God and knowing God and being with God that is beyond a label of being a Christian. Okay? It is this bigger, supernatural, quantum depth place that your life takes on a completely different paradigm most of the time in every single sense. Your eyes, your ears, your all of your senses are influenced by God. I mean, there is such an saturation of the Holy Spirit when you really have been serving God for a long time. And then there's a calling to be able to love and have that be your highest expression. No matter what happens, that you understand this love is the key of our salvation, of our success, of our prosperity, of our family. And I just want you to know that I'm a deep investigator of a lot of forensics, okay? And in my work, I look deeply into everything. And it's just the way God has me and what my gift is. But when I see things that God has shown me, and it is not clean finance, it is not clean dealings, it is your hands is not clean hands. It is the doctrine of clean hands that is the issue. And this is not holding water with that doctrine of clean hands. And you know it. And this entity is your friends or your family, like the FBI right now. Because that's what's going on the books of the FBI is doctrine of unclean hands. And you go, okay, well, did they get the plate before them unclean? Yes. Was that unclean plate conveyed to them? Yes. Could they say no to that unclean plate? No. Why? Because they're under oath, okay? They're under oath to serve our country. Our military, everyone is under oath to serve our country, okay? So there's a devotion, and you have to hold this ball of authority. At the same time, you have to hold this ball of ethics before God, and know that when you're walking with these two balls, but on the bigger picture, you're really holding all of your country, all of your globe, the actual physical world, and all of the space around it, and the universe, and everything that's affected right here in front of us every day. Okay, and you're holding that before before yourself, and you're holding that before God, and you're going, God, this is yours. I'm simply here. I am simply here with you, but you are holding all of this. And any conflict is about you, Lord. Anything, it's all about you. And as I stand here as a witness, as I stand here as a friend to God, and as I stand here as a servant unto God, to be close to Him, to be His ambassador of the very smallest details that mean so much to Him, I am not apologizing. I am simply saying that our best offense, all of us together on the earth, in the friendships and families that are created by our governments unto us, to be able to be a part of our country, in this case, America. You know, I am thankful even in the problems that I see intimately about my family, I love and adore my family. Okay? It isn't about performance. It's about who you are intrinsically. It's about the history of everything and the whole ambiance of care and trust and the higher excellence of that ideal really being part of it. People can refute that. People can argue that. They can say, well, historically, it didn't go well. Well, I have to rebut that and say, actually, the very fact that they were a player on the field, that they actually created the intrigue or created the ambiance of whatever it was, that is such a big part of the story, okay? When people go, is there value in evil? There is value. There is never a value in tearing down anything that is in a place of righteousness, that is in a place of holiness before God, which is basically our lives. All of our lives are that incredibly important to God. So we all could live more in the paradigm of taking our, holding our lives, like I'm saying, like our country, like our world, like our atmospheres, holding them in front of us, just like this, on this scale, that you're much bigger than you think you are, to hold this in your hands, for you to be able to hold all of these issues in your hands and look at them with an intelligence of your experience, your life, your skill sets, and say, this is my contribution of advice or suggestion or care, and really cultivate that, because those ideas, plus my ideas, plus my neighbor's ideas, and my children's ideas, and my husband's ideas, and my family's ideas, everybody's ideas, if we can hold our ideas before us in a cultivation of intelligence to be able to understand their highest values so we can articulate that, we actually will have an incredible transformation, epiphany as a country and a world, that we are wasting our time in these lower levels about war. We're totally wasting our time. We're wasting our good sense of business. We're wasting our good sense of understanding a good business model. We're wasting our energy on bickering back and forth in lower levels of vibrations of just not really caring about people, not really liking people, when in reality, the whole higher level is right in front of you, sweetie pie. To grab a hold of yourself and just, if you can, just embrace yourself and give yourself a hug and say, you deserve the best life with God. You deserve it, sweetie pie. You deserve the best life with God. If He leads you and guides you and enjoins you with big, wonderful families like the FBI, like my life, and then He says, now I want you to be faithful and have their back, and don't ever underestimate your power to protect them. And then He's giving me my missionary calling and saying, I want you to protect those who protect those. And it's like, I never thought I could have an impact of caring and being an umbrella of protection and security for my country. But God, through my faithfulness of believing God, so it's not really even me, because it always comes back forensically to God, giving me the faith to see His, and it's all Him. It's just all Him. And His heart for all of us, and not just me. My life is about Him seeing, my life is about watching Him, looking at you, showing me your value and my value, and quantifying that and evidencing that. And that is amazing before Him. And it doesn't have anything to do with war. And it doesn't have anything to do with a lot of the things that everybody's stressing out about. So I vote time out, you know what I mean? And saying, okay, can we please move this from a very criminal kind of evil atmosphere over to a quantification of righteousness, that there is an applied value to all things good. All things good. You help somebody across the street, that's quantified. You get credit for that. You help a woman with her groceries and help them into the car and on their way when they're struggling, that's quantified. It's being watched. Everything is being watched anyways. It's just that value isn't coming to the people. That is an easy switch over. That you are getting, you have footage, you have literal footage of you doing good deeds that you've never ever been rewarded for on the earth. Okay? Now Jesus has issue with that happening. Why? What's the evidence? The bankers in the church, the money changers in the church, the money, commerce in the church. What did he do? He drove everybody out of there. Everyone was out of there. And the highest jurisdiction is a place that money isn't even there. I mean, its value's there. Your value is definitely there and recorded. But the actual commerce is happening somewhere else, not there. And money is in a compliance with God, but by you saying that money is always with God, money is always with God. The treasuries of heaven are always with God. That is true. But he wants no man usurping the position of his blessings for the people directly. There needs to be a direct flow from God's hands to the people directly. Nobody between it. There can be a flow. There can be a conduit. There can be a way, like a infrastructure for it to flow to the people. But that hasn't happened. That has not happened yet since Jesus 2018 years ago. That is yet to happen. Okay. I want to say to Elon Musk, good job for not quitting. That is your biggest winning combo right there, that you do not quit. That is so important. You do not quit because you're holding Tesla's perpetuity. And you are an extension of Nikola's Tesla, or Tesla. So stay strong, my friend. And I'm right here in Santa Fe. Okay, so let me tell you something. Your idea for the transportation is right on. Okay. However, do not do this underground. This has to come up above ground, okay? And your skeleton that you're going to put it on above ground is going to stretch for 15-mile stretch points, okay? So you can go from pillar to post at the top of Manhattan to the end of Manhattan. You can run 2 of those stretches down, and you're running those high-speed things, and then the elevators go down and they feed onto the street. However, you can do really beautiful design also if you use that titanium stretch, and then you use your same principles. Now if you go, okay, well I needed the pressure inside of the tube. Okay, well you can still build those tubes, sweetie pie. You just got to put them up on stilts and build that structure on stilts. And the best way to do it is just to follow, if you're in Manhattan, you're going down the stretches of the city from pillar to post, from head to toe, 13 miles down Manhattan. That needs to be post-haste, 2 of those actually above ground, okay? People are your highest assets. You are transporting the highest assets on the world, okay? So you want to make sure they're safe, and when you have something valuable, you don't put it underground. I mean, you can, but it won't thrive. Even you're talking about human life, and God wants them to experience sunshine. And so this needs to be a translucent vessel, translucent everything, but they're in a bubble, okay? They're running through a bubble, and high speed, and yeah, so you're doing good though. And I'd like to help you more, okay? So because there's a lot of quantification that is going to get you out, get your company into a really good liquid place as far as finance. You should be way ahead now, but somebody's not disclosing to you, I'm sure, that portfolio. Okay. What was the other one? AT&T merge with AT&T merge. Right. Okay. I just want to say about Disney. that Disney, you're holding the ball for Walt Disney, the man. So you can make corporate decisions that completely evaporate him, and that's not your best interest, because your highest portfolio of assets is your intrinsic portfolio of Walt Disney himself. And so when you keep Walt Disney's identity and signature around all that you're doing, you're going to evoke that imagination, which is a very, very powerful, real asset that you have that takes faith for you to understand that that's true and real. Okay? So Walt Disney right now, alive, would be very busy, okay, on some very, very profound things. And I do believe that some of those things would be transportation vehicles, very, very powerful flying vehicles for groups of people and for low level, and that infrastructure of flight can be honored in the commercial airline sector, that it would be redesigned, that those great big commercial airliners would be really serving mostly the military, and that all of the other smaller, low level, single flight kind of like, they're going to have to merge the groups to go from a little bit bigger down to the single flight. But those single flying ones need to be a more concise, like a pod. Okay, so those infrastructures for pods, like free-flying pods that are a little bit like rubberized on the outside, and on the inside they're just completely equipped, and you can stay in those all day and just float. They float through this atmosphere, kind of like a tube, and you can connect those. They're pressurized inside, but they can still float. So it's up to the conveyance of the wind flow, how that can. And it's basically like pools of fish, and they stay together and they kind of flow together. That's kind of how this could go. You could do pressurized tubes of water and have the pods be underwater, flowing through the ocean. New highways of pods flowing through the ocean. Translucent everything, so there's a total learning experience. Everything should be translucent so you can actually see what's going on around you. And what else? And yeah, so the transportation is definitely a brand new realm of, well, it's an old realm of identity, because they've always had the human life identity wrapped up in the car, automobile, transportation, and sector. They have converged those, or what they call a reconstitution, if you will, of human life into their vehicles. So we kind of are running tandem to the identity of the vehicles that we are registered at the motor vehicle thing. That's deeper issues, but I'm just going to say that, though, if that is true, and I can show that evidentiary, then we do have a legitimized model of finance and structure to build, and it's kind of exciting. I think Elon Musk would understand what I'm trying to say. Okay, so as far as our FBI is concerned, what I would vote if I was helping Christopher Wray, which I have a heart to do as a missionary of finance and redemption from God, is to establish a trust and have the FDIC oversee with the FBI, because they're already working together, a brand new redemption trust for every sector of every secret service, that you can't see. Any part of America's security that you just can't see, you can't really look out and see a uniform. Everybody's undercover or whatever. Those are the ones I'm talking about in this one facet of trust. So the undercover trusts are trusts that for people like myself, okay, like I'm a whistleblower, I could be considered a whistleblower, okay, and I'm not a whistleblower. I don't fit well in that paradigm because I'm a missionary. And so all of my research and everything has been out of direct quickening by God to say, look at this, study this, read that, understand what I'm trying to tell you, having to do with where you are here, and my people are here, and the value is here, okay, before God. So as I was taking my journey with God, I didn't have a pathway here. There's no pathway. Everything is obstructed, or people are shutting you down, or they're really upset, or you're really becoming a nuisance. So they start freaking out on you, and you have heart attacks and seizures, and your business folds, and your children are gone, or something has happened, and it's just on as far as the drama's concerned. Okay, and why? What happened? Well, I got a forensic ambassadorship of a certified ambassador of finance, of rather contract, and it opened up an entirely gigantic world of measure, and all therein. I mean, there's just so much there. So my point is, that there was no pathway, okay? And everything I was finding in there was like, no pathway here, no pathway there. Oh yeah, that information right there, yeah, no pathway for that. Okay, so you have all of this research and no pathway. And then God is saying after 16, 15 years, he's like, now you got to go make the pathway because you have all of this evidence to bring forward. And I'm like, okay, so this is where we are. And this is where my FBI is. And this is where all of our military are. Our military, since the beginning of our nation, which we are a brand new contemporary nation, but nevertheless, our military has never been worth more alive than dead on paper. Our military has always been insured more dead than alive. And that shows evidentiary, and that is such a morale breaker. That is just not an honor stage. It's not an honor to have a military that is only honored if they die. And I understand they need to be honored when they die, but they need to be really honored while they're alive. And that needs to have a financial honor to actually show substance. Their honor is real. It isn't about the money. It's about the value on paper that they can redeem and use for the betterment of their family, their children, their home, their life. Because the soldier is sacrificing all of his creature comforts at times in the military, doesn't mean his family has to. Doesn't mean his children don't get to go to private schools. That is done under my presidency of the Maiden of Santa Fe. Okay? We need to bring our military into a place of honor. All right. Okay, all of our armed forces, all of our law enforcement, everybody that is on board to bring security to America, you know who you are. This is not just our military, our force side. This is also our medical side that is not, that is resisting these eugenics agendas. All of these death agendas, all of these depopulation agendas. Okay, these guys have not figured out the math at all. These guys have in fact, are hurting themselves. They're hurting themselves, and I could give you the quantification of math to actually show you mathematically, statistically, in probability, and in so many other ways, also in science, and in every other way, that you have missed the mark on the population, whatever. You've totally missed it. Totally missed it. Okay? And until you guys can stop feeling so superior, which is really blinding your best judgment, your superiority of yourself is blinding your better judgment, because you're basically telling God he is not creating anything here worth value. Okay? And when you start entering into that disrespectful realm of the heavenlies of God, You're asking for personal judgment on your life. Okay, you really are. Everybody who's creating this depopulation thing, and everyone who's really promoting this death agenda, yeah, you're provoking God, and you're provoking God upon your own personal own life. You're provoking God about everything that you personally hold dear to you. Okay? And I want to recommend that you return to the scripture about the beginning of wisdom. And the beginning of wisdom is fearing God. And I bet nobody really can make certain people afraid because they're so self-confident. But those are the ones especially that I want to speak to. That Jesus Christ is mighty and almighty. Is that, I mean, if you can even understand a bit of that, you know, how almighty God is. He humbles himself and comes to visit us here, like right now with us here on this video. If you are feeling anything that I'm saying about this, God is there with you. Jesus Christ is quantum, beyond quantum, but let's just say quantum so you can understand. He's not superficial. He's not prima facie. Hello. Jesus Christ is deep and loves you in detail and in very, very infinite number measures, guys. Okay, so I just want to encourage my family, which is, you know, I'm a ward of the court as a very young child, and I have never been adopted since then, other than through those that God brought me into my corporate family, in this case, the FBI. So I am the matron of the FBI, and I have every single one of these, and all those that are retired, going all the way back to the beginning. And I will stand before God, and I will have this conversation with God, because it is a paradigm of true flux. It is a paradigm that many people ask, you know, how can you reconcile having a security is highly detailed and quiet under the radar, because these guys travel really like regular guys. They're just regular guys, but they're not. Okay? They're not. They're so much more than that. They're really angels if they will let themselves be the angels. They are the angels. And God brought me right there to them and said, you're there now. They're yours and you're theirs, and here you go. So you guys need trusts. Each division of the FBI needs a trust, and it's the Invisible Maidens Trust, okay? Because right now I've got tons of money in my name that I need to hand over that folder to you guys, and you need to go through and you need to legitimize and then transfer that into this trust. And this trust is going to permeate through all of our security forces to be able to encourage the perpetuity of the dynasty trusts to come up, okay? Because right now they're being covered by these tax traps, okay? This is a very old system. So the FBI and all they're in need to understand that they have that stewardship of architectural design and development to be able to do something new, that they can take an incredible legacy step in and go to the next step. Okay, what got us into this situation in the first place of having all of this duplicity and not really understanding what is intrinsic, what is real, what is not real. Okay, you've got two worlds now. It's digitization, and then you've got the real intrinsic, the actual holder in due course of who is holding the real thing. Okay, and I just want to encourage you guys. Okay. Not when you see problems in our country, in the structures of our current country, our Congress of the United States of America, not the Federated Congress, not the American Federation Congress, that is important, but I am talking about our original Congress of the United States of America in Washington. You are intrinsically, profoundly a national treasure. Hello. And it has been so molested of corruption. And God is saying, I want you to return to this identity of purity of who you are. In thousands of years from now, they're going to look back at today and they're going to say, who were these people? They were at the cusp of this digitization world and reconciling our real world and the economies between them, because right now our economies are fighting each other. Digitization, Bitcoin, versus our actual intrinsics of value of what our country was founded on. Okay? It's the high slick thing that has no real security cover on it. So it's here or there, we don't know. And then our thing that our foundation that we built, in God we trust, intrinsic on our foundations here. The Federal Reserve, I just don't get you guys. You don't care about America. I really don't think you do. And the evidence of that is the mortgage structures are so slave-oriented. All of the credit, you create a credit system of credit reporting agencies, and you get a credit score, and this and that. That's all slavery stuff. You don't even care about the real story. You don't care about why certain people have stopped paying any taxes because of the depreciation of their own bodies being abused by this system, where they don't even have the quality of life they used to, because they stood to cry out and say, hey, what about this? What about these tax structures? You guys are covering our dynasty trusts with your tax structures, and you're putting people like me under probate, whatever, fining people like me, okay, for not paying taxes because you don't want to identify with the damages that you've created to stand against you. You don't want to take responsibility for the pain and the punitive and the damages that you have caused somebody like me, who has defied, not out of rebellion, but through our court system. It's not like I have followed the protocol. I have followed the pathway that you've given me, which is the court system. And the court system is bought out by the very defendants, the very people that have brought us into the courts. So, through personal testimony, not out of reading a book, not out of somebody telling me this, but by standing ground for 6 years in Santa Fe, New Mexico, as a lady, and feeling the abuse of the process of this court system, to stand for our estate that has been proven to be of a royal descendancy of Spain, my husband's side. I am standing ground as also an investigative reporter, officially with International Press Corps, also as a certified ambassador of finance with one of the only last man standing, Andrew Lehman, CFLA. There's so much abuse on people that are standing ground for the original America that we have evidence was truly America and should still be today in the maturation of these bonds. Okay? So it isn't like we're holding on to something that is not able to be identified. It is all identifiable. It is all quantifiable. It is all very intrinsic and quintessentially America. And I'm asking all of you in America, my countrymen, men, women, children of every state, especially California right now, my hometown, my home state, that you have great values, sweetie pie, and so much so, the usurpation of your life, usurping of your identities, is so out there in evidence, God can turn that around for good, because there is no way to walk past the evidentiary systems of duplicity, of undermining, of all that's happened has now a great value, and I can walk you directly over to it and show it to you. Okay, so on that side, it's exciting. Okay, especially if our President Trump, will go and find Andrew Lehman in Houston, Texas, and a CFLA owner, and have him come to Washington and sit with him and explain to him what's happened to his life. And God will do a miracle through our president. And those two men right there can do amazing things for America. Okay? All right. I love you guys. And I just want to say about my own personal leadership for the FBI would be that when you have a director of the FBI and he has options to grow the value of the FBI, because the FBI is being traded on the SEC jurisdiction, okay? The FBI is not just an independent whatever or a sector of America or whatever. It's literally an identity on the SEC, okay? So their performance is being measured in all kinds of ways. And it is being quantified and grown and capitalized on. And that portfolio needs to go back, that value, to the FBI itself, those guys, those agents, every single one of them, okay? But that is good leadership that gets you there. And all of these unions of labor and all of that, yeah, that value needs to be resting right directly on those that are laboring. Yeah, so all of this lower level stuff is not going to pay you guys anymore. It's not going to pay. The only reason why corruption paid is because you bought into it. And now you're smarter than that. And you can actually be extremely wealthy, very prosperous, very successful, and have a righteous, clean system where all of your wealth is legitimate wealth and it isn't corruption. And you really will be able to sit and testify about the day you gave your life to Jesus, or God's heart came into your heart and you could feel God's heart in you and you knew you changed. Jesus Christ is offering every single person on the face of the earth this freedom of understanding this what I'm trying to tell you, that your eyes will truly see what God has before you in the manifestation of heaven on the earth. God will show it to you. And it all lines up with his word. But more importantly, it's the Spirit that gives life. The word, the letter kills. It's a true killing. It's really a death, okay, that you can go into. It's a pharisaical kind of a spirit you can go into. It's so blinding. So you can be saved and you can be in God all over a long time. But if you don't judge a pharisaical spirit inside of yourself, if it's there, then you will be literally blinded by seeing the quintessential understanding of God and the manifestation of Jesus Christ and how he is looking at issues, especially having to do with value and substance, because substance is completely like this with faith, okay? It's the evidence, the substance of things hoped for is the actual manifestation of the abundance of blessing. Okay, so when people say, well, you blab it and grab it, or you name it and blame it, or whatever they call it, where you're talking all this faith stuff, manifestation of wealth and all of that through that. No, negative. It isn't even that. It's nothing like that. It's just nothing like that, guys. It's so much more practical. Okay, it isn't super spiritual. It's very, very practical. And God, it works with you. He works with you. And it is being sovereign over doing. But when you are walking and being in your sovereignty, because you found yourself, and that's what my prayers are for you, is that you find yourself in your sovereignty. And you're not bitter. When you show up, you're just a little surprised, but then you understand, oh my gosh, this is awesome. This is me. I am in this higher space and identity with God. I'm not a slave. Yes, I serve, but it isn't out of slavery. No, nothing like that. Totally out of hospitality, making people happy and just bringing forward that wonderful fellowship of the freshness of God to people's lives. That's what you're doing, okay? But you're not a slave anymore, sweetie pie, and your identity is so much more valuable before God. So when people say no, I don't think so. I'm just nothing but trash, or I'm trailer trash, or I don't know what people say about trash, people in trash, but Jesus Christ rose his cross up on a trash hill, on a dung hill, okay? Because he wanted you to remove yourself from there and just say, it's been done. I'm not this. This could be said that I'm this, but I'm not this. And even if somebody said, well, we discard bodies, some people have said, well, if God really cares about, the soldiers, how come there's unknown soldiers? If God cares about everybody, then why can you just, throw somebody away in the dump, literally, and have them never be found there? And Jesus is saying, don't you ever think that no matter what happens here in your body, with the body of after you've died and what has happened to your body, that I am not taking account and that I have not covered you there, because he has. Jesus Christ has covered us, even if the argument is that we did not even have enough value to be buried correctly or something. Jesus is like, no, I have you. You are of great value. I have covered you here. I have covered you here. I have covered you everywhere. Jesus Christ has gone before us everywhere. And you really need to take you out of your own mind for a few minutes and understand the quantum vastness of God, because you do not even come close to that. So when you're lifting yourself up in your own imagination, Jesus is trying to gently, humbly tell you, sweetie pie, you don't have, we're not even close here, you and I. The reason why you and I have a relationship is because I draw close to you, and then we connect. But if I don't draw close to you, we're not going to connect. And if you don't invite me to come close to you, then I know I'm not invited. And Jesus doesn't go places, really, where he's not invited. I mean, he comes to take dominion and authority, but, friendship is just like that with God. If you invite him to be close to you, he knows if you're lying or not. You can't manufacture that. You can't lie to God about that. He sees you completely. So don't act like don't be an actor or an actress with God. You just be yourself with God. And you don't ever, don't try to lie to God, because that's ridiculous. You can't lie to God. Okay, guys, I love you. I just wanted to make this very homegrown, more of a family home video about my family. And I know I have a very unusual story, and I know that that's why God uses my life on one level or another. Okay, God bless you guys. Bye-bye.